So the next thing we're going to look at in terms of composition of functions is how to evaluate a composition of functions using a given graph. So I'm given two graphs here, y is equal to f of x and y is equal to g of x, and I want to evaluate two different compositions here. Let's take a look at the first composition, f of g of 2, okay? So like in my last lesson, the first thing you want to do is evaluate the inside function. The inside function is given as g of 2. So using your graph, you're going to evaluate at that point. So what it's asking is, when x is equal to 2, what is the corresponding y value on the graph of y is equal to g of x? So we're looking at this graph right here, which is that linear red graph. So we'll find out where is x equal to 2. So here's x is equal to 2. You're going to find the corresponding y value on that curve. The corresponding y value on that curve is going to be equal to positive 3. So that's the value for g of 2. Now you're going to take this positive 3, you're going to put it into your outside function, which is f. So we're going to evaluate when f is f of 3. Okay, so once again, you're going to use your graphs to do that. So at this time, we're not looking at the red line, we're looking at the blue parabola. So find where x is equal to 3. Okay, so I'm going to erase that right there. X is equal to 3 is right there. As you can see, the corresponding y value is equal to 0. So to conclude this statement here, f of g of 2 is equal to simply just 0. Okay, so that's the first part right there. Let's take a look at part B here. G of f of 1. So the first thing you want to evaluate is the inside function, which is f of 1. So let's go to your curve here, the parabola. Find when x is equal to 1. So x is equal to 1 here. You want to find the corresponding y value on that blue curve. And that y value is equal to negative 4. Okay, once you have that value, you're going to stick this value into the outside function, which is g. So g of negative 4. Okay, so now we're looking at the linear red graph. So find where x is equal to negative 4, which is right here, and you want to find the corresponding y value on y is equal to g of x. So right there, and it looks like the y value is at negative 3. So to conclude this part here, we can say that g of f of positive 1 is equal to negative 3. So there's my final answer for that question there. Let's take a look at another set of graphs here. We have some sort of blue linear graph, and we have a red, some sort of radical function there. And we have, once again, two different compositions to evaluate here. Let's take a look at part A here. We want to find the value of f of g of positive 2. So you're going to evaluate the inside function, which is g of 2. So we're looking at the red curve here. X is equal to 2 is right there. Corresponding y value on that red graph is going to be equal to positive 2. Okay, so once you have that, you're going to put it into the outside function, which is f. So you're going to find the value of f of 2. So we're looking at this blue linear graph now. And so find where x is equal to 2, which is right there. And you can see that the corresponding y value is equal to 0. So to state the final answer here, we have f of g of positive 2 is equal to 0. Okay? So one last part, part B, we want to find the composition of g of f of positive 4. So evaluate that inside function first, f of 4, okay? So we're taking a look at the f of x graph, which is that blue linear graph, and we want to find where 4 is. So 4 is right there, and the corresponding value for what x is equal to 4 is going to be x is equal to negative 4. Okay, so we take that negative 4, and that's going to be the input of our outside function, which is g. So g of negative 4. So let's go to our g function here. Our g function is that radical red graph here. And so there's our x value right there. But notice that this graph, this red curve, is not defined when x is equal to negative 2. It starts at negative 2 and it keeps increasing towards positive infinity. But there are no x values where x is there are no y values when x is equal to negative 4. So what can we conclude here? Well, we can just say that g of negative 4 is undefined. And that's what you're going to say about the entire composition. So G of F of 4 is undefined. Okay, so that concludes my lesson on calculating the composition of functions given a graph.